Good day, my friends and fellow Canadians. I wish to speak to you about the interview between Prime Minister Harper and Peter Mansbridge on August the 6th. I could not believe my ears. I was literally stunned when I thought this man could shock me no more with his disregard for democracy and human rights for all Canadians. And then he comes out, and for want of something better to say, he tells Peter Mansbridge in response to a question.
I mean, the major threat is still Islamicism.
Islamicism. I won't say Islamicism. Islamicism is the greatest threat to Canada. Well, I'm here to tell you to relax. There is not now, nor has there ever been, a threat to Canada or even a single Canadian by Muslims or Islam on the whole. And the reason is because Canadians do not go around trying to promote regime change in other countries. We do not make enemies abroad. We can go proudly with backpacks with small Canadian flags anywhere on the planet. We do not get abducted. We represent no threat. Now, getting back to the interview, the reason they both disappointed me is because, first of all, Harper showed no regard for the growing family of Muslims that have immigrated to Canada, who have come here with a clean and decent lifestyle, seeking to worship God in their own way. They are law-abiding citizens and contributing to society. Now, Peter Mansbridge, I have watched this experienced journalist since the early days when he had hair, and I had hair. And he's way too savvy to have missed the points he should have brought out during that interview. You cannot just let someone as important as a Prime Minister marginalize an entire group of people in Canada and simply say they represent a threat or make people afraid of them without at least doing them and the rest of Canada the service of saying, what exactly is it you mean by a threat? What threat do they pose exactly? You know that it was the 10th anniversary of 9/11, and this Prime Minister, Harper, has always sucked up to the US. Not all of our Prime Ministers have a history of that. No. Oh no. Only two in my lifetime, Mulroney and Harper. Now, another point I want to make to you, this Prime Minister not only has no regard for the beautiful growth of Islam in Canada, but he has no regard for the freedoms of Canadians in general. When he prorogued Parliament, I was in shock. I didn't even know that Parliament could be closed down, because my training in history taught me that the last person to shut down Parliament was King Charles I in 1665, when Parliament wasn't doing what he wanted to, King Charles of England. He ran out of money 2 or 3 years later, and forgive me, it's a long time since I studied it, but he had to reconvene Parliament in order to get funds and taxes raised. And when he did that, they made him sign a document binding to this very day that Parliament itself is supreme. No one may dissolve Parliament except Parliament. Now, I'm only giving you that brief little history lesson to show you what disregard this Prime Minister had. When he had a minority government and was not able to force his will on the people of Canada, he padlocked Parliament, not once but twice.
Willing to face the elected members of Parliament of this House, a majority of whom have indicated that they no longer have confidence in the government of Mr. Harper. He's put a lock on the door of the House of Commons, and he refuses to face the people of Canada through their elected representatives. Instead, unfortunately, he's used a maneuver to escape accountability. And I believe it's a sad day that has happened for parliamentary democracy.
And what makes it more insulting, in order to have the authority for that, he had to go to Michel Jean, who was the Governor General at the time, who represents Queen Elizabeth II of England, the home of parliamentary democracy. gets permission from the home of parliamentary democracy to close down Parliament in Canada. I'm 60 years old, never saw it in my life, and I've never left Canada. And I've never seen a Prime Minister fearmonger or hate-monger to a minority group, especially one that is rapidly contributing to the growth of Canadian society. Our immigrants are not here illegally, like in the U.S. But I know they have an enormous problem securing their borders. Muslims that come to Canada come so properly. They come and set up lives and families and drive automobiles and buy homes and they live good lives. They don't smoke, they don't drink, they don't run around on their wives, they don't abuse children. I can find no fault in these people. But getting back to that interview with Peter Mansbridge again, I want to urge you, don't let this pass, because when one link in the chain of humanity is broken, then none of us is safe. When someone can just simply go on air and say, so-and-so is a threat to Canada, look at what you have set them up for. He has set them up for possible violence, possible abuse, possible hatred, and disregard for their rights as Canadians. You see, when you want to belittle a people, you dehumanize them. You make them like they're the boogeyman. You have to be afraid. Anyone can play on people's fears. We're born with fears of the unknown. And to do that deliberately as a political ploy is not only distinctly un-Canadian, but it's unwelcoming. And I really want to urge you to write your MP or your ombudsman, or to get a petition signed against those remarks made by the Prime Minister